The Inca civilization, once the largest empire in South America, stretched from the high Andes to the Pacific coast, from mountain valleys to tropical forests. They were remarkable builders, organizers, agricultural innovators, and rulers. But how could such a prosperous and advanced empire disappear in just a few years? This remains one of the most astonishing mysteries in world history. If we pause for a moment, the Inca Empire, in scale and organization, could rival many of the great powers of history. So how did its roads, terraces, cities, economy, and political order collapse so quickly? To understand this, we must look not only at outside forces, but also at the inner structure of the civilization itself, its philosophy, religion, and political system. Everything began around 6 centuries ago. Around the year 1438, a young ruler named Pachacuti transformed the Incas from a small kingdom into a vast and powerful state. He was not only a conqueror, but also a brilliant strategist, architect, and organizer. Under his leadership, the Incas expanded across territories that now include Peru, Ecuador, Bolivia, and even parts of Chile. The Incas lived in extremely difficult natural conditions. Much of their empire lay in mountainous regions over 3,000 meters above sea level. The environment was harsh and the climate unpredictable. Yet the Incas did not merely survive. They created one of the most efficient agricultural systems of their age. On mountain slopes, they built terraced fields where they grew potatoes, maize, and quinoa. This system allowed them to farm in extreme conditions and maintain a stable food supply. Their economy was equally unusual. The Incas did not use money in the familiar sense. Instead, they relied on a labor system known as mita. Every person in the empire was required to perform work for the benefit of the state, whether in farming, road construction, military service, or other public duties. The Incas also created a vast network of storage facilities and resource redistribution, helping them support the population and control a huge territory. They were also exceptional engineers. Their road network stretched for more than 40,000 kilometers, linking mountains, valleys, and coastal regions. These roads made trade, communication, and military movement possible across enormous distances. Stone complexes such as Machu Picchu and Sacsayhuaman still amaze the world with their precision and sophistication. Astronomy also played a major role in Inca life. By observing the stars and celestial cycles, they could determine the right times for planting and harvesting. This knowledge helped them adapt to high-altitude conditions and secure food production. The Incas did not develop alphabetic writing. Instead, they used a system known as quipu, cords with knots used for recording and transmitting information. Through quipu, they could track population, taxes, supplies, and other administrative matters. Although it was not writing in the usual sense, it was an effective method of governance. Religion stood at the center of Inca society. Their chief deity was Inti, the sun god, worshipped throughout the empire. The Incas believed that their ruler, the Sapa Inca, was a descendant of Inti and therefore sacred. Priests were among the most educated and respected members of society. They led rituals that could last for days. Some ceremonies involved animal sacrifice, and in certain cases, human sacrifice. These rites were not only religious acts, but also means of reinforcing social unity and state power. Yet behind this strength were deep vulnerabilities. In 1532, only a few decades after the empire's great rise, its collapse began. That year, Francisco Pizarro arrived with a small Spanish force. At first glance, it seems impossible that just a few hundred men could conquer such a vast empire. But by then, the Inca state was already in crisis. One of the main causes was epidemic disease, especially smallpox, brought from Europe. These diseases spread through South America even before the Spanish reached the heart of the empire. They caused demographic collapse, disrupted economic life, and created political instability. Many historians believe that the death of Huayna Capac and the succession crisis that followed were linked to these epidemics. Then came the civil war between Atahualpa and Huáscar. This conflict drained resources, divided the ruling elite, and weakened the unity of the state. When the Spanish intervened, they faced not a strong and united empire, but one already fractured, with some local groups willing to support foreign invaders against central authority. The capture of Atahualpa became a turning point because Inca power was highly centralized and heavily dependent on the figure of the supreme ruler. His imprisonment struck at the heart of the entire system. The Spanish exploited this with devastating effectiveness. Modern archaeologists and historians agree that the fall of the Inca Empire cannot be explained by a single cause. It was the result of several interconnected forces: epidemics, civil war, political crisis, foreign invasion, and the vulnerabilities of a highly centralized state. The same system that made the empire strong in times of order made it fragile in times of upheaval. At the same time, research does not support the idea that environmental collapse or agricultural failure was the main reason for the empire's destruction before the arrival of the Spanish. On the contrary, terraces, irrigation, and food storage systems show just how well adapted the Incas were to their environment. And still, perhaps the greatest mystery is not why they fell, but how they managed to build such a powerful civilization in one of the most difficult landscapes on Earth. Without iron tools, without wheeled transport in practical use, and without conventional writing, they built roads through mountains, cities that endured for centuries, and a state system that still astonishes historians. Today, the ruins of the Incas are more than stones from the past. They are the traces of a vast world in which every road, every terrace, and every temple formed part of a single grand idea. And the more archaeologists learn about the Incas, the clearer it becomes. This was not a vanished civilization, but a legacy that still speaks to us through stone, mountains, and time.